Welcome. Today is our another episode number 9, and today we have a special guest slash my co-host, Cosmo, who is also a founder of AI agency Autumn 8 Lab. Hi, Cosmo. How are you today?
Hey Anna, great to see you and great to be a guest on your/our podcast.
Yeah, amazing. How's your week going?
Oh man, I mean, overall it's pretty good. I actually made some really cool AI agents that I'm eager to share with our audience. And yeah, I can also share some news after that. We can chit chat a little bit about Claude because I've really been going deep into Claude for the past 6 months or so. And then now I'm finally excited to actually share some of my buildings. I'm coming out of my cave with a lot of cool new toys that I'm ready to share with the world. So that's making me pretty excited.
That's exciting. So, people who are just maybe stop by for the first time in our podcast, we run in a podcast every Tuesday, 8 p.m. GMT plus 7. I believe it's 2 p.m. UTC time. And we always cover some topics about AI. So, today we're covering topics regarding AI agents and executive assistant, how you can basically maybe retire your executive assistant and hire a new one. So today we're going to cover what is actually does planning your day, managing your workflow, handling research, all in one loop, how it works, and why one AI agent is replacing roles that used to need quite a few team members. So let's dig in. Cosmo, do you want to share a screen and start showing your executive assistant? Um,
Amazing. Yes, I'm going to share screen right now. And I like that you said retired. You can retire your executive assistant. That was very kind. Very
I
kind
don't want
in
to say fire because that's not nice. Even,
Yes, yes. It's not nice to fire her. No, no, no. So maybe you
exactly.
just let her retire. Maybe she starts to learn some new AI skills using my free AI resources from automatelab.com, which is where you can also get your AI executive assistant. So are we sharing? Yes, great. So this is probably the place to go if you want to find the cool new resources that I'm publishing. You just go here on my website under the free resources. You click on the first one, you fill out your email, and after that you're going to get to a page like this where you're going to have a cool video of me running through the full installation process. Today I'm just going to um, run you through a little bit of an update of that. But you can see here the full installation process, and you can also click on the GitHub link, which will lead you to this GitHub repository. Now, GitHub is the place where most of these cool new AI toys are hosted. And it's also where I'm hosting my own. It is very simple for people to download. You can read here about the tool itself, like, hey, what it is, how it works. You see that I have like 13 different skills, and you have a profile for this particular executive assistant so it can understand like how you work, like what tools to use, and what your EA should watch for. Then you're
Okay,
giving her.
if I might interrupt you for a second because I have a couple questions. I think maybe
Sure.
people who are not don't know how to do that. It might be a little bit intimidating on the beginning, right? So I have a couple questions. So when you set up your executive assistant role in Claude, that you're going to probably use co-working a co-work space. Is this correct?
Well, you can use Claude Code. You could use co-working space, but you can basically use Claude Code. It is a very simple here. The only thing that you need to do, and that's kind of what I'm getting to, there's an installation quick start guide here. I really encourage you to read this part. It is
Mhm.
very simple. It's running you to like, hey, like what the AI assistant actually does, what's the daily flow, what are you getting, and there is this one simple command here that you just need to copy and paste. Right? It says clone and install this for me, and then it gives the link of the repository. So that's exactly what I did in the installation process that I ran last week. I just typed in clone and install this for me into a new session of Cloud Code. And then it was super simple. It said done. And then we started the setup. So during the setup process, It is when the AI starts to ask you some questions in order to get to know more about you. If you don't have a document, so you can either provide a document or you can start answering some of these questions. I believe there are like 7 questions that should get a pretty good idea of who you actually are. And then you are going to be prompted to connect her with the tools. So you have tools for like your CRM, your calendar, your email, if you want to connect with email, and your knowledge base, in order to connect her with these tools, in order to get access to the information that your regular executive assistant would do. So this whole setup process takes about like 10-15 minutes, maybe. Like, it's not that complicated of a setup process to have yourself up and running, and it is fully guided by Claude Code. So all you have to do is go and copy this clone repository, clone and install this for me from GitHub. You don't need to know more than this if
Okay.
you're new to this.
All right. So, okay. So I will, a person is going to install. What kind of skills does the executive assistant have? And you mentioned 13. So what is included there?
Yeah, so there's actually 13 skills, which are these ones listed right here, and these ones are based on what a regular executive assistant would do, and they're based on a daily flow. So I want to start my morning, for example, with a morning brief. For me, this morning brief is one of the most important skills because I get to the office and I just ask my assistant, like, hey, like, what's my morning brief? It pulls in my meetings for the day. It pulls in my tasks for the day. It pulls in emails if they came some emails overnight, and it arranges my calendar, and also in order to create today's plan. This is super important for me, and it's kind of like the reason why I built it. I built it for this particular morning brief because I come in. Let me see if I can show this. I come into the office and then I have this is like my full list of tasks. It is I have so many tasks all over the place, and I don't want to see this. I have ADHD. I would much rather the executive assistant just tells me like, hey, these are like your 5 tasks for today, like this. Like, I came in today, I just typed in EA morning brief, and then it tells me, okay, hey, this is from yesterday. These are like your top 5 tasks for today. Heads up about these other deadlines that are tomorrow, actually. So I have some deadlines. Heads up about this. Look what I'm waiting on. What are some other deadlines? So it's literally, I'm talking to it like a real human. That is the best part of it. And it knows the holistic picture about myself. So instead of me having to look in the calendar and having to remember and having to organize everything, I just talk to my executive assistant and it starts doing things for me. So that's one of the first commands. And then there's a bunch of other things that you will do during the day, like check in, clean up, weekly retrospective, and so on.
I hope you give her a lunch break. Hopefully.
actually, actually, one of the best
Out.
things, she works 24/7, but not that much. Like, I mean, I can talk to her at 3 a.m., but I talk to her maybe 3-4 times a day. Like, it's not even that she needs a lunch break, is that she's mostly on break.
She's mostly on break. Okay, sounds good. And she sometimes runs out full, right, to run the credits. So you need.
Yeah. She sometimes runs out. Like, I was just showing you, I did this weekly planning. Very simple. I just started talking to her by typing /EA, which is one of the commands. And then I'm like, hey, let's do the weekly retrospective. So we ran through a lot of things. It pulled everything from my week. We started talking about, tasks that I forgot to update, and then did some more updates. And then she made some suggestions. I made some suggestions. We went a little bit back and forth. Like, look at this great weekly report that she created for me. Like, this is the final weekly report. You can actually see that it has everything that got done this week in terms of content, in terms of product, business development, operations, everything that got done this week, plus the patterns that she's seeing. So this is her just thinking about it and looking at my calendar, looking at my tasks, looking at like my daily reports that I'm doing also together with her, and then she's signaling patterns, right? She's signaling patterns that are important for me, and we're not going to blur this out. Some information is quite personal, but whatever. You want your EA to know a lot of personal things about you, and that's actually what I really like, that she's noticing these patterns. She's telling me my satisfaction levels, my monthly goal check-ins, does all of the recommendations for next week. And then we went and did the next week's planning, we went a little bit back and forth again about this week tasks, like days, get it by each day, and so on and so forth. And by the time that we got to the finish, so thankfully we actually got to the finish of this, I ran out of credits.
Okay, but
So
eventually it probably will be like whatever is important, you could send her to Notion, correct? And you can send her, hey, organize for me this. That you can
exactly.
have kind of a picture, okay, this is what needs to be done. Because going through the chat is already overwhelming. You pull in all that information and you want to kind of put this in and package it somewhere. What I like about Claude that you can actually tell the Claude, organize for me, and it does a really amazing job. I tried it.
Yes,
And
exactly. And that's actually why I'm working a lot with Claude, is because I have ADHD. So I tend to start a bunch of new things, and then like it becomes like this, where it's
yeah,
just a lot of tasks. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with them. So I just tell it to organize it for me, and it does a great job at organizing things. And I can also move things around. That's one of the biggest powerful things. So if I say that, okay, hey, today this is the plan, and then I say, oh, okay, I want to move these things around, it also does that for me. So I have some check-ins, and I don't have to go into each task and say like, oh yeah, like, hey, I actually worked on this from this time to this time. I just turn on the microphone. I have a tool here. I just turn on the microphone and then I start talking. You see, there is this thing here, and I just start talking and tell her about my day and how it went, and then it goes and it it adjusts all of these tasks that I'm sharing here on my behalf. I don't have to go and like nitpick everything, kind of like an executive assistant would do, right? You don't want to manage your own calendar. You just tell your executive assistant and it manages it for you.
okay, I never had executive assistant. Has been doing all the job for myself, but I got to tell, this is pretty amazing. One thing that I wanted to ask you, you mentioned about the code, and I know there's chat, co-work, and code. Why did you pick to build executive assistant and code instead of co-work? What's the difference?
Well, you could.
I mean,
Uh,
I use personally co-work. I don't know. I don't know why would I use code. Is it the same or is it a difference? There is a difference about it.
Well, there are slight differences first and foremost. So you can see here that there are three main things, right? There is the chat interface, which like you're kind of used to speaking with a normal LLM from back in the ChatGPT days. Then there is the coding interface, and the coding interface helps you to interact a lot more with code. And then there is the co-working interface, which basically is a wrapper on the coding interface. So co-work is, you can technically do everything or most of the things that you can do in Claude Code, but it is much more beginner friendly. So it is much more friendlier for users. You don't have to be a developer, and honestly, you don't have to be a developer to use Claude Code either. Like I haven't myself coded myself in like years. But what I really like about code, and I'm actually using Claude Code like this, so I'm using it in VS Code, for example, is that I can see much more of the conversation. So you see, I just updated, I just told like, hey, like let's make some changes over here, and I can see, okay, it went and it read this document, and then it did this command, and then it deleted this, and then it added this, and then okay, now it committed it to Git. So I can see much more granularly what it's doing in order even for me to understand. You can see some similar things when you're doing it with cowork. I just started doing some basic things like, hey, I just want you to organize my downloads folder, because I get all the power that I need from code. But I understand that people that are not used to code, they're actually using cowork. So in cowork you can actually talk to her like you would talk to a co-working assistant. That's even why it's called co-work. So it can access your files, it can organize your files for you, it can access applications on your desktop or like in your browser, it can access different files and perform different commands on your behalf. So that's the thing for it, but more or less it's a wrapper on Claude Code.
Okay, I understand. One thing about GitHub, just to be clear for people maybe who don't know, and for myself personally, like when we use code and we already built everything, right? All her skills there, everything. Then we, how do we get that information to GitHub? I don't know how to do that.
Well, funny you would ask. I actually just updated this. So you can see here, let's say that I wanted to make a change. So I just told it in plain language, like, hey, I want to make this change where I want to bring this how it works. I want to bring it more to the top. That's actually what I told it. And then it went and made this change for me. And then I said, okay, now commit this and push it to GitHub, right? So that's basically what it means. Commit is like a GitHub command. So I'm not even doing it. Cloud
Oh,
Code is doing it for me. You
oh,
see?
so it's organized for you. So basically, you just need to give a permission on plugins, under plugins that Claude has access to your GitHub link, and it organizes everything for you.
Yes, yeah. So you basically just go in here under customize, you tie in one of these connections. So for example, like GitHub integration, boom, and then Claude Code does everything. I don't do anything. Claude Code does all the pushing for me, whether it's for my executive assistant or my website or my other tools that I'm working on, like my content creation and my news aggregator. I have a couple of different tools that I've built with Cloud Code, and I just speak in natural language with Cloud Code. I'm not a developer. I wrote literally 0% of these, all of these documents. Cloud Code helped me write them, and yes, I did read them. So I actually read them, but I did not write any of them.
It's funny. Maybe we should have a new button there somewhere. It's a human read, like usually README file. So README human file. Maybe it's going to be in the future.
Yeah, maybe
Very
it's going to be here in the
common.
future. I find that very interesting, to write a README file for the computer and then another one for the humans. That's actually why I want, like, okay, humans are probably going to read this, so let me put the human stuff more to the top, not start with the code directly.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, your assistant is saving you lots of time because I remember our conversation before that you were saying, I don't like this organization part. This is something that I really don't despite, right? But seems like now you have a perfect executive assistant who is actually doing everything for you what you needed for the day, right?
Exactly.
So how are you satisfied with deliverables of the?
Oh man, I mean, honestly, this is probably like my top five inventions ever. I would have to say, and I want to say that I invented it because I couldn't find anything like it or exactly like this online. And the invention actually came from a prompt that I used to use for my OpenClaw. I don't know if you're familiar with OpenClaw. It's like now the hype is a little bit dead, but it was one of these first autonomous agents. And one of the best things that people started doing with their OpenClaw is that they wanted to have a morning brief. I'm like, hey, that's a pretty cool concept. I've seen some prompts online, and I copied one of these prompts, and then I started putting it in Cloud Code, and then I started using it more and more. And the fact that like I started making it more granular and started adding extra features, and then from this it turned into like different skills, and then it evolved into this beautiful executive assistant because, like you mentioned, I'm definitely not good with organization, and I needed somebody on my team who's organizing it. And I want to stress this term, like needing somebody on my team, because I really look at this AI agent like a person on my team. It does things for me. I can brainstorm things with. I can chit chat, and shows me, like, it literally helps me as a person would you know so I'm very happy with her, and I'm upgrading her every day, maybe every day, every other day, let's say, because there's kind of like things that sometimes I want to tweak, but you don't have to. It just works straight out of the box. I just want to tweak because I want to make it better both for myself and for the other people, and maybe it will help them also use it more and use it better.
Okay, it is very very nice. So are you going to share with us this GitHub?
Yeah,
We can
definitely. I
follow.
mean, here's the link here. Where can I post it actually? Let's see. I can put it probably in
Have
like the
you
comments.
any other team members from try it already executive assistant for themselves? Have you given to your friends to try? Any feedback on that?
Yes, yes, yes. I actually gave it to both my friends and my team. My friend actually, he's the one that suggested a new feature because up until now I had no able to push the calendar. So it was only reading the calendar, but I didn't really want to just clock my calendar. But my friend had like, hey, so it's like I cannot get it to like write these things in my calendar. Like I don't get it. Is it broken? I'm like, oh no, that's not an actual feature, but I can make it a feature. So I just added also the ability to push the calendar after you've set some of these things in motion, like after you've set your calendar, your schedule kind of for the day. I just talk to the chat. I don't need it to push my calendar. But my friend, he said that, he likes to look at his week at a glance and kind of see what he has. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'll add that feature. It was like two like one prompt talking to Claude Code in order to add that extra feature. So yeah, it's constantly improving based on what people want. Like, hey, you have the opportunity to get this. Like I was saying, you can probably go to my website automatedlab.com, or on LinkedIn. It's also available on LinkedIn or on GitHub, and get it here from free resources. You can just go and get your own AI executive assistant. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I would be keen to know how is it going for you? How are you finding it? If you're finding her useful or not, or how useful, let's say, because I'm sure it's going to be useful. And on top of that, if you want me to update it in any way, maybe make it to your specific flow, feel free to shoot me a message, and I'd love to help you out.
Also, I kind of wanted to talk about Atom 8 Labs. What does Atom 8 Lab do? So, just to get us familiar with that.
So Automate Labs is my own boutique AI agency. It's we like to call it that it's your AI partner. It's me and a couple of my teammates that we're helping people implement AI systems, businesses. Sorry, we're helping businesses implement AI systems. We have created a special auditing system that, with the help of Claude Code, um, that goes into a business and can find a lot of leakage. Most businesses don't have a demand problem, they have a systems problem. So we're going into their systems and we're helping them to automate parts of the system, starting from the lead generation, tasks getting assigned, and so on. So yeah, we help them to improve their system, and we install AI powered read responses, automated sequences, AI daily briefing like this, like the executive assistant that surfaces things that matter, tracks and shows all the channels in producing real clients. And we basically help, do an AI audit, install some AI system, and then we continuously optimize these systems in order to really help a business to integrate AI, make more money and save more time. That's the biggest thing that we're doing. We have a couple of case studies from the healthcare department, construction, property management. These are people for which we've increased income,
Productive income.
decreased time spent, and ultimately help their business integrate AI technologies in order to save more time and make more money.
So, who is your client? Any business, or you particular towards some business?
Right now, we're actually quite open in the niche aspect of it. I just want to talk to people. I just want to help business owners. We're not like, oh my God, we're gonna go only for this niche. So whoever you are, if you're listening to this, like I'd love to talk to you because uh, I believe that AI can be implemented in almost any business. Maybe not all businesses, but in almost any business. And primarily, we're looking to help people that have already existing processes that they would potentially like to optimize. Maybe they have repetitive systems, maybe they feel like they're losing money or time, or they have, for example, like many people that are doing kind of like repetitive tasks that they would like to optimize. So maybe it's replying to emails, maybe it's doing research, maybe it's a lot of other things that we can actually help them to optimize by implementing AI systems and AI technology inside of their systems.
Okay, so that was a great overview. And this is something very useful for quite a few people. I could tell that. And please reach out to Cosmo. He will be happy to chat with you guys if you need automation in your business with the help of AI, for sure. I have some hot take for today because I kind of took your part. And my hot take for today was about Claude, that Claude, by accident on the news, reduced the credits. Um, and it CEO said that it was by accident and it should return to normal. But what is your because you're doing a lot of coding and prompting and talking to Claude, how many times have you read a message you are out, you need to have a break, come back, Cosmo, in 1 hour or 2 hours or so on?
It's happened a lot more than I would want to, honestly. Um, Definitely, and that's a little bit upsetting to me. But also I understand it. Like I'm not gonna be in here and be like, oh no, like they're rugging us. No, to be honest, if we're talking about these companies, like I this is their play, they're giving you more stuff for free. They're actually like not making money on these $20 subscriptions. I'm using I think like $1,000 worth of credits on my $20 subscription. If I were to pay with API cost, it would cost me around like $1,000, and I'm just paying like $20 basically. So that's that's one of the challenges, is that they're subsidizing us basically right now at this point. So they're giving us more than we're paying for in order to acquire us as a customer. It's the old playbook, when Uber basically first started coming into the
Right.
market. Like they needed to offer low prices, they needed to give you free rides, so you would start using Uber until you became addicted to Uber and dependent on it, and you wouldn't call a taxi anymore, you would just call Uber, and then they
Right.
can charge you higher prices. That's actually how I feel about Claude right now. I made a video the other day because Claude ran out. So Claude was like, it's not even that I ran out of credits. It is that the servers failed because it was just so used, I think, right? So I turned on my laptop, opened up Claude, and it just wasn't working. And I was sitting there looking at Claude, and I was like, I'm addicted to this tool. I'm like,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, what am I really doing without it right now? I have to think for myself, and I have to plan my own day because it was morning, and I'm like, oh man, like, yeah.
Well, don't forget how to think for yourself. Still, you need that brain. And yes, I agree. It is very addictive. And I could say if the subscription is going to get higher, they probably will people still pay because they get used to two outcomes that Cloud gives, and it will be very difficult to just say I cannot pay anymore. I would like to have the same service, right? So I think the probably strategy is going to work out in the long run for sure. People will get addicted, and it will get better. I was wondering how it's Cloud compared to Manos, or how Perplexity, because they have also what's called an Perplexity computer. But hopefully we can cover this sometimes in our next episodes, and that would be a good comparison. The same task provide for Claude and Perplexity, and see the outcomes. Could be interesting to look. But the last question that I have to you: after executive assistant, what's the next you're going to build? Something that is going to be maybe open source, or only for you, you're going to keep it?
Oh well, actually, I'm open sourcing a lot of the projects that I already have built. So the next one that I'm open sourcing is my content creation pipeline. So I have it's a pretty well built, I would say, and like it's a pretty large content creation pipeline that goes from me sending cool videos that I find online to like a Telegram bot, and then from there it goes through like a whole pipeline in order to surface ideas for me, bring up news for me, understand kind of like new concepts and self-learn as it's doing this. So yeah, I'm actually in the midst of creating this agent and making it just about ready in order to be published. So expect to see this going live within the next week. And I'm if the executive assistant is quite simple, I would say, because it's just a list of skills. Like I'm not a you don't even need to be a developer in order to do this. You just need to be a writer to write these skills or understand the processes. But the content creation pipeline, it has a lot more, Python scripts and a lot more developing into it. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, well, we will be definitely coming back with this in later in episodes, but I want to kind of last couple weeks and introduce my AI influencer, and so now I am doing an experiment. Basically, the influencer, her account kind of got stuck in the same amount of followers, so I asked Claude to make me I explain everything about this personality and so on, and I ask Vlad to prepare for me a content creation for next 30 days, um, actually for 3 months, right? So I said, okay, let's grow this channel from 500 followers to 1 million within 3 months. And so the cloud made me a list of content, what I need to post, what time I need to post, and what kind of content. So I'm kind of following the instruction of Claude, and I want to see if this account actually will grow. We'll see.
That's an
It's an
interesting experiment.
experiment. Experiment. It's not that influencers that usually um, kind of easier to identify that it is AI influencer. So we'll see
Mhm.
if people actually can understand this is actually AI and then not a human as well.
Yeah,
So
keep us posted on how that goes. And on that note, I also made something similar, this like $0 to $10,000 challenge with AI, and it's something
okay,
that I'll
we
also start
come
posting
back
soon.
and share in one of the episodes. But
I
for
will,
now,
I will, yeah.
guys, we are going to say goodbye. Thank you, Cosmo, for coming. Thank you, please, for sharing with us your AI executive. Share with me your GitHub link that I can post it below the video. And we'll see you guys next week in the next episode of Influenced by AI. Bye bye.
Peace.